Hey guys, Luna here, and I'm here with a game called Evolution of Trust. Now, this is a game that sort of plays up to the fact of the Prisoner's Dilemma, which I actually played it around the time that it was released, since I played it about, actually no, not around the time, about 4 or 5 years ago, so... It was, yeah, around the time of its release. So anyways, so this is just the initial context of it. I wish I could adjust the volume of this. Unfortunately, just on or off. So, well, I'm just going to read this. I'm going to have the music off, just so it's a little bit quieter. During the World War, peace broke out. It was Christmas 1914 on the Western Front. Despite strict orders not to chillax with the enemy, British and German soldiers left their trenches, crossed no man's land, and gathered to bury their dead, exchange gifts, and play games. Meanwhile, it's 2017. The West had been at peace for decades, and wow, we suck at trust. Surveys show that over the past 40 years, fewer and fewer people say they trust each other. So here's the puzzle. Why, even in peacetime, do friends become enemies? Why, even in wartime, do enemies become friends? I think game theory can help explain our epidemic of trust and how we can fix it. So to understand all of this, let's play a game. You have one choice. In front of you is a machine. If you put a coin into the machine, the other player gets 3 coins, and vice versa. You can either both choose to cooperate, put in a coin, or cheat, don't point in the coin. Let's say the other player cheats and doesn't put in a coin. What should you do? Cheat. Exactly. Why let that smoosher mooch off of you? If you cooperate and they cheat, you lose a coin while they gain 3. -1 score, -1 to us versus +3 to them. However, if you both cheat, neither of you gain or lose anything. Score 0 versus 0. Therefore, you should cheat. But let's say the other player cooperates and puts in a coin. What should you do now? Cheat. Wow, that's mean, but also the correct answer. Because if you both cooperate, you both give up a coin to gain 3. Score plus both of us gain 2 plus 2. But if you cheat and they cooperate, you gain 3 coins at the cost of 1, so +3 versus -1. Therefore, you should still cheat. And that's our dilemma. Exactly. Trust is nice, but it can let others take advantage of you, or shoot you as you come unarmed out of the trench. Sometimes trust is rational, but now what happens if we play this game more than once? Well, let's play for real. You'll be playing against 5 different opponents, each with their own game of strategy. With each opponent, you'll play anywhere between 3 to 7 rounds. You won't know in advance when the last round is. Can you trust them? Or rather, can they trust you? Well, we won't know, unfortunately, but pick your first real move. Choose wisely. I'm going to cooperate. Because it's best to cooperate. Like, the rational move for the self is to cheat, but the best move for the society as a whole is to cooperate. Now, this guy, when I remember this guy always cheats, so so it's always best to cheat him back. So not to lose our points. Which is why this is going to be said. Oh, this guy always cooperates. The first guy is tick for tack. So basically, if you cooperate, they'll cooperate. If you cheat, they'll cheat in the next rounds. I should probably have the music on. This guy is special, so. I'm just trying to remember the strategy of each of them. can see sort of their expressions that change. Yeah. So total score is so the total score is 27, which isn't bad. The lowest and highest possible scores are 7 and 49 respectively, because always cooperate. So what were these strange characters you play against? Copycat. I start with cooperate, and afterwards I just copy whatever move you did in the last round. Meow. Tick for tack. Always cheat. The strong shall eat the weak. So basically just always cheating. Always cooperate. Let's be best friends. This would be me. Or copycat and always cooperate would kind of be my two. Quadger. Listen, partner, I'll stop cooperating and keep crying, but if you ever cheat me, I will cheat you to the end of tarnation. First I'll analyze you. I stop cooperate, cheat, cooperate. If you cheat back, I'll act like copycat. If you never cheat back, I'll act like always cheat to exploit you. Elementally, my dear Watson. Elementally. Like my wires being all funky. Give me a second. Hopefully you guys heard that. Okay, there we go. So hopefully you guys heard that my wire must have been acting a little funky, but yeah, long story short, each had their own styles. Tick for tat, always cheat, always cooperate. Quadger, always cooperate, but once you cheat, I'll cheat to the end. And then act like copycats. If you cheat, always cheat if you don't. So now if these characters were to play against each other, the tournament time, each character will now play against each other, every other character. That's 10 paired matches and 10 rounds per match. What do you think will get the highest total score? Think carefully about it, then place your bets. If you forget who's who, you can just hover over the thing. And I think the copycat's gonna win. Alright, you place your bets on your copycat. Let's go to the matches one by one and see how the tournament plays out. So copycat versus always cheat. The copycat has -1 and the always cheat has +3. Oh, by the way, next match. Copycat versus cooperate. They both have +20. You may be skeptical about that Christmas true story about World War I trenchers. Surely it was a fluke. Copycat versus Grudger, they both gained 20 points. Yes, the truce was dramatic, but it was neither unique nor unusual. And Copycat versus Detective, they both gained 18 points. See, you can see, like, when they both cooperate, they gain 20, but if they cheat, it's +18, which is less than always cooperating. Not every trench joined in the piece, but it was pretty widespread. Many front lines came up with the idea independently, and again, despite strict orders not to. Next match. In fact, even before Christmas, several front lines had already established an unofficial secret peace. Always cheat versus always cooperate. The always cheat gets +30, the cooperate gets -10. The always cheat versus Grudger, copycat gets +3, the Grudger gets -1. They called it the live and let live system. Basically, you don't shoot me, I don't shoot you, and this worked. Lots of places, surprisingly. You may still be skeptical. Most soldiers don't spontaneously form peace with the enemy. What's so special about trench warfare? The always cheat versus detective. The always cheat gets +9. The detective gets -3. The current scores with always cooperate with 57. Always cheats 45. Copycats 57. Always cooperative is 10. The tarnation one is 19. Detective is 15. Next, always cooperate, both get 20. Always cooperate for Grudger will both get 20. Well, here's what's so unique about trenches. Unlike almost every other form of war, you have to face the same specific soldiers every day. Always cooperate versus detective. Cooperate gets -1. The detective gets +27. It's a repeated game, and that makes all the difference. Grudger versus detective. The grudger gets +7, the detective gets +3. And anyways, the winner is, drum roll please, Copycat. Congrats! You placed your bet on the right horse. Copycat goes by many names. The Golden Rule, retributional altruism, or tit for tat, or live and let live. That's why peace could emerge in the trenches of World War I. When you're forced to play the same game with a very specific people, not just the same generic enemy, over and over again, Copycat doesn't just win the battle, it wins the war. But if things change a lot when you play multiple rounds of the same game, what if we happen to play multiple tournaments? Now let's say our populace evolves over time. It's 3-step jams. Play a tournament. Let's let all of them play against each other and tally up their scores. Eliminate the losers, get rid of the 5 worst players. If there's a tie, pick randomly between them, and then reproduce the winners. Clone the 5 best players. If there's a tie, pick randomly between them, and repeat for as long as you like. No, you don't have to wait for people to literally die and reproduce for culture to revive. All that's needed is that unsuccessful behaviors go away and successful ones are imitated. So now, let's see this in action. Let's say we start with a population of 15 who always cooperate, 5 always cheats, and 5 copycats. We'll ignore grudger and detective for now. We are going to do a tournament elimination reproductive dance of dozen times or so. Let's make the first bet. Who do you think will win the first tournament? All cheats. Place you. Overall, I think the copycat, but all cheats win the first time. Makes sense. Always cheat has a lot of cooperate to exploit. Let's see if you're correct. Play tournaments. And that's correct. Eliminate the bottom 5. Reproduce the top 5. Sadly, you are correct. The always cheaters won this time, but the numbers increased by 5. Let's try a few more rounds of this. Eliminate. Reproduce. Always cheats go growing at the expense of always cooperates. Eliminate. Reproduce. But wait, now that the always cooperates are dead, but wait. Play tournaments. Eliminate the bottom 5. Reproduce. That's right, always cheats become the victim of their own success. They exploited the naive cooperators, but they ran out of them. They had to face the copycats who are nice, but not naive. Play, eliminate, reproduce. By simply copying the other moves, copycats play nice with each other while always cheats just cheat themselves. Not only that, that means copycats can give an always cheater the taste of their own medicine. Play, eliminate, reproduce. So the results. Copycat inherits the earth. So in the short run, you're right. Always Shin wins the first few rounds, but in the end, the exploitationist was its downfall. Reminds me of the Croats. We are punished by our sins, not for them. Albert Hubbard. Oh, by the way, the result is similar even if we put in grudger and detective back in. It's like the evolution process. Note that sometimes a few grudgers might stick around because all the players except grudger and copycat are eliminated, the two-way tie. So it seems the math of game theory is telling us to do something. The copycat's philosophy, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, may not be just a moral truth, but also a mathematical truth. However, there's a problem. Look around. There's a world full of jerkwads. If copycat is the strategy in this repeated game of trust that's so powerful that even soldiers of World War I trenches independently evolved a similar strategy, why are there so many untrustworthy people? Why causing the epidemic of untrust? A clue in that sentence in itself, in this repeated game of trust. So far, we only talked about a change in the players. What about a change in the game? What could lead in the evolution of distrust? Before everything goes to heck, let's start with something always nice. Here's a world entirely filled with always cooperative, except for one always cheat and one copycat. Use the sim to go through set by set or to reset it. So basically just start. As your new copycat wins handily in the wrong one under our current rules. But that's under our current rules. Say the players play against each other for 10 rounds per match. Does the copycat still win at 7 rounds, 5 rounds, 3, 2, 1? change the number of rules. And so let's reset it, and let's just do 1 round. And with only 1 round, the always cheat wins. About 20 rounds. The always cooperative wins. How about 5? With only 5, she always cheat wins. How about 6? Kind of curious. A 6. There we go. With only 6, it looks like only 5 rounds and below always cheats wins. 6 rounds and above, and the copycat wins. As you saw, if you don't, my nose. As you saw, if you don't play enough rounds here, 5 or less, the always cheat dominates. In 1985, when Americans were asked how many close friends they had in common, the answer was 3. In 2004, the most common answer was 0. We now have fewer friends across class, racial, economic, and political lines because we have fewer friends, period. And just as you discovered for yourself, the fewer repeated interactions there are, the more distrust will spread. No, mass media doesn't count. It must be a two-way interaction between specific individuals. And oh, it gets worse. There's another way to breed distrust. Here are the payoffs for the trust game. With the normal payoffs, copycat wins, but now change both crop record for 2-1, then click start. Even though 1 is still more than the punishment for both cheating, what happens? Yeah. The always cheat dominates. The same thing happens. With a lower win-win ward, always cheat takes over. Game theory has 2 powerful ideas about this. Zero-sum game. This is sadly the common belief that a gain for us must come at the loss for them, and vice versa. Non-zero-sum game. This is when people make the hard effort to create a win-win situation, or at least avoid a lose-lose. Without the non-zero-sum game, trust cannot evolve. Speaking of which, now let's look at our third and final barrier to the evolution of trust. Mistakes. As cool as Copycat is, it has a huge fatal weakness. I haven't mentioned it yet. To understand the process, let's say 2 copycats are playing against each other. Being nice players, both the first move will be cooperate. As normally, they just pay back each other's kindness and sing Kumbaya until the end of time. But what if, while trying to recuperate goodness, mistakes, miscommunications, misinterpretations, accidents happen all the time in real life. Yeah, but what if the other person doesn't think it was an accident? So it's time to cooperate. Oh no, times 2. The other player, being a copycat, had to retaliate. And you, being a copycat as well, you also have to retaliate. Just like that Hatfield McCoys, these 2 copycats will spiral into an endless cycle of vengeance. They started over a single mistake long ago. Tragic, but now there are other types of players who can deal with mistakes. Let's meet some new faces, or new hats anyways. Copy Kitten. Hello, I'm like Copycat, except I cheat back only after you cheat me twice in a row. After all, the first one could be a mistake. Purr. Simpleton. Hi, I try and cooperate. If you cooperate back, I do the same thing as last move, even if it was a mistake. If you cheat back, I do the opposite of as last move, even if it was a mistake. So, random. Monkey Robot, Ninja Pizza Tacos. Lol, I'm so random. Just plays cheats or cooperate randomly with 50-50%, a 50-50 chance. Alright, let's see how those... Okay, so... I start with cooperate. If you cooperate back, I do the same thing as last move. So basically, if you cooperate, they will cooperate in the next round. even if it's a mistake. If you cheat back, so if you cheat in the original round, they will do the opposite thing. So basically, if you cooperate, they will continuously do the same thing. If you cheat, they will do the opposite thing as whatever they did. So let's see how well people do when they play in a tournament. Let's start with a doesn't always cooperate version with our own one of the Fair Copycat and our 3 new characters, the Forgetting Copykin, the Dull Simpleton, and Silly Random. In each round of the match, players have a small chance of making a mistake. Let's say 5%. Who do you think will come out on top? Think carefully, place your bets. I think it's the Copy Kitten. So let's see what happens. Alright, you bet Copy Kitten wins. Let's find out. So, your bet was close, but no cigar. Simpleton wins. This is because Simpleton is actually capable of exploiting always cooperate. They both start cooperating, but if Simpleton makes a mistake and cheats, since cooperate never retaliates, it will keep cheating them. Now let's try. The same thing as before, except instead of half always cooperate, it's half always cheat. It's much less forgetting, more hostile environment. Who do you think wins now? Copy Kitten. You bet on Copy Kitten. Again, go through the simulation. You're right. You're right on the money. Copy Kitten wins this time. That's surprising that even with a media population, Copy King, a more forgiving version of Copycat, was the most successful one. Note, Copy King is so forgiving it doesn't even entirely wipe out Copy Kitten. It shares room. In this case, a bit of miscommunication, a 5% chance each round, could lead to more forgiveness. But is it true for all levels of miscommunication? What happens at 0? What happens at 0% or 20 or 50? It only goes up to 50 because at that point every move is a coin flip. So let's do 20. And it looks like, no mistake, Copycat and Copy Kitten wins. So let's try 20% because they suggested it. And always cheat wins. How about 50%? And it looks like it's about equal, but the always cheat are slowly starting to get eliminated. So and the Copy Kitten slowly getting eliminated as well. It looks like the true winners are the winners, with the Copycat sort of just being there. As the results turn out something like this. At 0, the fair Copycat wins. At 1 to 9, the forgiving Copycat wins. At 10 to 49%, the unforgiving always cheat wins. At 50%, nobody ever wins ever. Well, technically Copycat and the random dude wins. This is why miscommunication is such an interesting barrier to trust. A little bit leads to forgiveness, but too much leads to widespread distrust. I think our modern media technology, as much as it helps us increase communication, has increased our miscommunication much more. Alas, let's experiment with all the numbers, the knobs, the sliders. Let's play in Sandbox mode, which Sandbox mode is totally optional. Feel free to skip it or play around. Which I'm going to be linking this in my Discord and in the description of the video, so that way, if you guys ever want to go back to it, you can. So let's recap what we learned today. Our game theory has shown us 3 things we need for the evolution of trust. Repeated interactions. Trust keeps relationship going, but you need the knowledge of possible future repeated interactions before trust can evolve. Possible win-wins. Both must be playing a non-zero-sum game, or a game where it's at least possible that both players can be better off, a win-win. Low miscommunication. If the level of miscommunication is too high, trust breaks down. But when there's a little bit of miscommunication, it pays to be more forgiving. Of course, real-world trust is affected by much more than this. There's a reputation, shared values, contracts, cultural markers, blah 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 blah. Let's not forget the biggest lesson. There's one big takeaway in all of this, from all game theory is this. What the game is defines what the players do. Our problem today isn't that people are losing trust, it's the environment acts against the evolution of trust. This may seem cynical or naive that we're merely products of our environment, but as game theory reminds us, we are each other's environments. In the short run, the game defines the players, but in the long run, it's us players who define the game. So what can you do to create the conditions necessary to evolve trust, build relationships, find win-wins, communicate clearly? Maybe then we can stop firing at each other, get out of our own trenches, cross no man's land, to come together and all learn and to live and let live. And this is the image shown is a Christmas truce between opposing trenches, illustrated by A.C. Michael, published in the Illustrated London News, January 9th, 1915. There's a little heart. And created by Nikki Case. Thank you very much, Nikki Case. I've been enjoying this game since I first played it. Based off the Robert Eldrin's 1984 book, The Evolution of Trust. Love and lots of thanks to Nikki Case's Patreon supporters. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have a good day, night, week, month of your lives. May the stars forever guide your trust for wherever it might lead you into the future. Bye-bye.